Metheg. The metheg is a little symbol that sits next to a vowel. Let me give you an example here. We'll look at the word ha, adam. Ha, adam, which means the man. Adam is man. Ha is the article, the man. The metheg is a little symbol like this, small vertical line, sits next to a vowel. Now every Hebrew word has a stressed syllable, as we have already mentioned, and the default is that it's the last one. So this is our stressed or tonic syllable. Let's show our syllables here. So tonic, pretonic, propretonic. The metheg is essentially marking a secondary stress. Here's our primary stress. This is the secondary stress. And what it's doing is it's ensuring that the reader pronounces this vowel that it sits next to with its full value. So it's like a minor stress. The major stress is here, ha-adam. But you don't want to reduce this, he-adam or he-adam, or just really make it short. So this is ensuring that it still is pronounced as a full value, even though it's this far. It's 2 syllables from the final one and would otherwise get reduced. So it is ensuring, the metheg is ensuring that the vowel it sits next to receives its full value, and it's effectively causing a pause in your pronunciation. In fact, metheg means bridle, so it's like you're pausing your horse, you're slowing down your horse when you hit that syllable. The metheg will never show up on the tonic syllable. It will always be somewhere before it, typically the propretonic, so 2 syllables previous to the tonic syllable. Now I want to cover 4 uses. There are many uses of the metheg. I want to cover 4 uses of it, and then I'll summarize how to remember this. So the first one really is what we already have here, which is that it will prevent vowel reduction in the propretonic position. In this case, prevent it in the article. Another usage is to preserve a long vowel. Let me actually go to a new screen. Let's look at a word. Put our metheg there. So with the metheg here, we're going to pronounce this. We're going to have a new syllable here. Right? Pause means a new syllable, basically. Chachema. Chachema. That means she is wise. Now, we have a very similar word. In fact, if we just write the same word without the metheg, it's a related but different word. Without the metheg, this is choch, chochma. This means wisdom. This is she is wise. This is wisdom. We've got 3 syllables. We've got 2 syllables. The metheg ensures that you pronounce this as its full value. If you don't have it, then you pronounce it differently. Now this is one way to tell the difference between a kametz and a kametz hatuf. If you remember, I talked about this and alluded to the fact that I'm going to be talking about how to distinguish them. In the next module, I'll give another case for how you can tell the difference. But one way is, if you have a metheg, before a kametz, it'll be a long kametz. It'll be a kametz, not a kametz hatuf. So the kametz, or this metheg rather, will distinguish between kametz and kametz hatuf. It'll preserve it as a long vowel. There's another case where the metheg distinguishes between short and long vowel, preserves it as a long vowel, and it's also a common word, 2 common words that are often confused. Yere, yereu. This means they will be afraid. Let me divide let's do the other one first. Yer, yereu. So here we have the metheg, so we put a syllable there, and here's our next syllable. Here we don't have a metheg, so the syllable goes here, yereu. This is short, right? So CVC, short, that's a valid syllable. We couldn't put the division here because then we'd have CV with a short vowel and open syllable. Remember, CV, open, has to have a long vowel. This is not long. Now, the Metheg is saying, keep this as a long vowel. So we have CV, and we can have an open syllable because this is long. It doesn't look long, but it is long. And the Metheg is telling us that. If you didn't have it, you would think it's this. This means they will be afraid. This means they will see. It comes from two completely different words that happen to have some similar consonants in them. And so when you put them in these particular verb forms, they look similar unless you have this Metheg. Now, when we deal with verbs later, this will make more sense. Come back and view this at that time. All I want you to know right now is that the Metheg can be used to distinguish between short vowels and long vowels. In this case, it distinguishes a kametz and a kametz hatuf. If the Metheg is there, it preserves it as long. In this case, it distinguishes between, effectively what this is a defective hirik yud. There's a yud missing, and this tells us that. So again, the Metheg is preserving a long vowel and distinguishing it from a short vowel, which is important because you need to know the difference between these two words. They mean something very different. So that's a second use of the Metheg to preserve a long vowel. Let's look at a third use. This is, let me write it here first. Can you read that word? It's a biblical name. So if we want to read this, there's a Metheg. So effectively we have a syllable division here, and then we have another one here because we need a closed syllable here. Yaakov means Jacob. Yaakov. Methegs will often show up before a compound shava. And what it's doing is it's ensuring that we're going to give full value to our patach here. So just don't be surprised if you see it. If you see a Metheg before a compound shava, that's something that happens. And lastly, I want to give a different example. This is interesting. He'arim, which means cities. Arim is cities. He is the article, something like ha'adam. Now in this case, we have a sagol here, and the Metheg is marking that there's something different going on here. It's flagging the reader to say, okay, pay attention to the fact that we have CV, we have a syllable with a short vowel in it. Now that's a violation of our rules, right? CV unstressed, here's our stressed syllable. Let's put our syllables in here again just to be really clear. Stressed syllable, this is tonic, pretonic, propretonic, and so we have CV, an open syllable with a short vowel. It should be long. Well, what this is essentially doing is saying, yes, I know it should be long, but I'm going to put this here. It gives it a secondary stress, and so we have a short vowel here. Now, this is probably getting confusing. We have Metheg sometimes indicating long vowels, sometimes indicating short vowel, as here. The way to think about this is this. Metheg means bridle, okay? So you're on your horse, and you're going to slow your horse down. You hit a syllable that has a Metheg, you pause. Pause in your pronunciation. Now, if you pause in your pronunciation, you are ending a syllable, so it's a syllable break. Remember that, and you'll know how to read it. All these cases here, if we look at them, we have a syllable break after the Metheg. We do He'arim, Yaakov, and here, Yir'u. If we don't have it, it's just Yir'u, so we have a syllable break there. Hachema, as opposed to Chochma, so we have a syllable break. And our last one, or first one really, Ha'adam, we have a syllable break. So, Metheg, the vertical line, just think vertical line, syllable break, okay? And then you'll pronounce it fine. The one, of all these four, the most important one to remember is that the Metheg will help you distinguish between these two symbols here. Kametz, kametz hatuf. This one probably is important to remember. The other ones don't worry about for now. Now this, fortunately, the kametz is much more common than the kametz hatuf. And so most of the time, this symbol is just kametz. If you see this, it means keep it as a kametz. Okay? I'll talk a little bit more about the difference between those two vowels in the next module.